This is Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast, episode 023. I'm Stephen Little, and I'm here with
Isaac Tauaefa.
The man was ready. Josh Straussberger.
JP Dinnell.
My man.
We got the order right this time.
Oops.
Welcome back.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
JP, I saw you limping in here, bro.
Yeah, I'm getting old, man.
Yeah, that's factual.
When you're old and you're trying to do things like you're able to in your early 20s, it doesn't always work out if you don't properly warm up. And I thought I had warmed up, and it was warm last night in the gym, and we've been moving. However, when you start off, very first thing of the workout is max effort, not just running, not sprinting, but max effort as absolutely physically possible, fast as you can, sprints on an air runner treadmill. The last 3 seconds felt and heard a little pop in my hamstring, and
which those things are frightening anyway. Like, how do you get off of those things?
Yeah, for anyone
the
that
rails, put your feet on the side.
Right.
for anyone that doesn't know, it's the long, curved, self-propelled treadmills.
Yeah.
Treadmill.
Yeah, So anyways, we were at my buddy Justin's gym, 360 Fitness, down in Keller, and we had myself and 9 other men from Milestone Church, the church that we go to, met up there last night for a little workout session, and then it was cool because then Pastor Tyron, one of my pastors, after we worked out, he was like, all right, guys, hey, I love working out with you guys. These things are awesome. It's great for us to do these things, but, more importantly, like, how's everyone doing? Does anybody need prayers? And so it's cool for different guys in the group to specifically bring up what they need a prayer on, and for us to be able to pray over each other. And it's cool. One of the things I learned from Pursuit, I was able to do with a young man and call him into manhood, and read that verse and talk through it. And then we all prayed over him. And Tyron then I led the prayer, and then Tyron closed it out, and then a few of the few different guys for. I'm not going to put out their details, obviously. I mean, general prayers is nothing like super personal, but it was cool to be able to do that. And then we prayed over Justin's gym, just for, him allowing us to use that. It's cool. Justin has given me access that anytime I want to use a gym for a group workout with guys from church, we have access to use his gym.
That's legit.
Which is
awesome.
Which is awesome, and it just shows Justin's heart. And so it was cool. I wanted to do that, to pray over Justin and his gym, and Tyron actually brought it up right at the very end. So it was a good workout, but yeah, hamstrings a little tender, but it was a good workout.
A little tender is an understatement for how you came in.
Yeah, I mean, I have my legs. We're good. I haven't been maybe in. I don't know. It's just sore, man. We got to figure it out. I'll know. We'll know more.
Hey, you know what? Let's get the Theragun out and just hammer it in.
What will he do?
hamstring.
But what will he do when he knows more?
Nothing. Keep
training.
Sprinting.
Okay.
Keep moving so
Sprint
the blood flows
again.
in there for recovery.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Scientific.
Sprint
on it.
harder
Yes.
to make the muscle
Yes,
get used to that.
Blow
feeling.
the other one out.
There's
Beat
zero
it-
chance I could jog right now.
Beat that muscle into submission.
Yeah, maybe.
That's
okay.
that's a horrible feeling, dude.
He'll load it down and go ruck.
I thought I was a young man like a couple years ago. My brother, when Josiah was playing for the Giants, he came back to do a workout, and I put my knee brace on. That helps me be
That
able to
holds your leg
that holds my
together.
knee together. And I was just trying to run next to him, and first sprint I'm halfway down, and then just that jolt of electricity into your butt cheek.
Oh, you
You're just
feel
like,
it.
Speaking of, by the way, I drove past Josiah this morning.
Did you?
For Liberty Christian's
Oh, yeah.
two-a-days.
Yeah, that's right.
They had all
Yeah.
their stadium lights
Yep.
on.
Yeah.
So your brother coaches with Jason Witten.
Yep.
At Liberty, and
Yeah,
when
I saw the lights on last night. I drove past.
Bro,
them,
I
yeah.
drove by this morning, and I got all kinds of summertime two-a-day goosebumps.
You know what's so funny?
And also at the same time, so super all the ooey gooey feeling, and also that feeling of thank God I'm not out there right now.
Not me
at 5
anymore.
a.m. sprinting.
Puking at 5 a.m.
That's so funny. Last night I drove by there. I was out driving around late last night, and I stopped by there. It was close to midnight, and I drove into the parking lot and pulled up next. I thought maybe they were doing a late night. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah,
they do that.
dude,
Heads
So I pulled up right to the lights.
Those headlight
Yes.
headlight sessions.
Rolled the windows down. I was just seeing if there was any sound out there. That's so funny. I was at
That's
Liberty
awesome.
last night.
Your brother goes to Milestone also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him and his wife are members. They just went through 201. Amanda and I finally went through 101, which is like the membership thing. And because we didn't know if we were going to stay here or not. Like, we were trying to buy a house for 3 years and we just couldn't find something. And part of me was like, all right, Lord, are we not supposed to be here in Texas? Like, I mean, we were actively trying to find something.
Lord slapped JP in submission.
Well, he didn't. He didn't. It was the kids, our kids being plugged into Milestone. I mean, I like living in Texas. I love Texas, but living here, this is not where I want to be. Like, I'm not just the state of Texas is not cool compared to like Northern California or Maine or the mountains of Colorado or Idaho, which that's for me, that's what I could live all year long. I like all the 4 different seasons, but we're trying to figure it out. I was like, okay, do we move? Like, really kind of figuring out. And then obviously the house we got, it was a complete God thing. The way it worked out, we did it over a handshake. Literally, like asking the guy. I know I've talked about this before, but like, hey, can we buy your house? And he goes, yep. We shake hands. We work through it, which is awesome. That doesn't happen in real estate ever.
Especially the guy has been in real estate for decades.
Yes, and he knew what he had, and he knew that there's other people waiting to come buy the house.
Yeah.
Like,
it was a nice property too, and so typically, nice properties aren't done over handshake deals.
No. Especially when there's people waiting outside to come look at the house after you.
Right.
Which
he could have done a bidding war, right?
100. That's why we lost every other house. Like, some of these bids were like, congratulations. Or people would come in with a cash deal, and you're like, congratulations. Like, good job. So, anyways, so we found the house, and it was like, okay, cool. God provided that. That's a sign to me. It was like, hey, this is where you're supposed to be. But before that, the reason why we got really like, hey, we need to find a place, is the girls and Aiden being plugged into Milestone to their, their next generation program that they have called Elevate and everything. It's like, I mean, all of our kids love going to church, but they all serve. Like, they're all like on the children youth serve team. I mean, those times, like, they're like, hey, we're going to church, right? We're like, yeah. They're like, okay, cool, because I need to serve, and I'm supposed to be there. And you're like, okay. And then your kids went through the VBS that they had, and they were serving there, and it was cool. We were leaving church Sunday night, and there was like all these little kids that kept coming up to Cora, and they're like, Cora. They remembered her, and she was one of their little
VBS leaders.
Yeah, VBS leaders.
Cool.
And
that's awesome.
Their vacation Bible school is squared away. It's super impressive.
Their whole youth program is squared away.
Yeah.
I found this out is other major, like, really big churches in the area have been recently coming to Milestone, and Pastor Jeff and Tyron and those guys going, okay, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like, what do you, like, how are you guys growing?
That's cool.
Like, the church, and more importantly, like, the youth program at this point. And it's just, as you guys know, our kids, the youth, that's our future of this nation. And if we're not investing into our youth and raising Christian men and women, like, our nation's going to fall apart.
Oh, yeah, I want to ask you about. I want to hear about youth camp, but I want Stephen to initiate us real quick.
Oh,
yeah. All right, boys. So we know what time it is.
Thinking about
if you're watching on YouTube, which you should be, you see this. I'm rocking the Afterburner Orange Jocko Go. 3, 2.
Make eye contact.
Listen, here's what you got to do.
Close my eyes.
You gotta get in the game.
Sorry, I made it weird.
On the Jocko Fuel. You got and let me just say this, okay? So yesterday, my wife posted an Insta story on our Little Cattle Co. Instagram, and we were up at the office, and we had a non-Jocko Go energy drink in the fridge, and I pulled that out in our Insta story. And I want to say it is one of the better options. It's not one of the ones Isaac was talking about a couple episodes ago. So it's not one of the trash energy drinks, but it's definitely not a Jocko Go. It's not a Jocko Go. But I just want to say the amount of hate that y'all spewed on me
good for you.
Good.
is, for half of me, I was proud, and the other half of me, I'm like, I'm going to fight all of you.
I'm torn.
But I want to say, that's my, listen, vulnerability is important. So this was my confession time, right? And so I just want to say, yes, yesterday I drank a non-Jocko Go. I am human. But I want to say that you should be drinking Go. I should be drinking Go. I simply failed to have my fridge up there fully stocked yet, which is in process. So with that being said, you got to get in the game with Jocko Go. No preservatives. It's the first ever energy drink that's pasteurized so that it doesn't need preservatives. There's no artificial colors, sweeteners, anything like that. It's got amino acids. It's got nootropics to help you with your focus, and that is the thing I notice is I get really focused when I drink Jocko Go. There are also only 95 megs of naturally sourced caffeine, so it's not going to crack you out, but you will find that needed focus, that needed boost of natural energy. And so you got to get in the game. And here's the thing, y'all listen to this, y'all know they've also got protein and every vitamin. The green supplements is great for you guys that are on that steak and beef and homai rice diet like we all are. You got to drink those greens to get those other nutrients in you need so that you don't have to chew on vegetables like a freaking cow, right? Just chewing on grass. Can you imagine chewing on grass?
No.
And so you drink your greens, and here's what you do. You use code JJJ10 at jockofuel.com to save yourself 10%. Not only do you save yourself 10% on the best supplements in the game, but you also support our ministry.
Absolutely.
And it's been, you guys using that code and sharing that code has been really, really impactful for us. And so we appreciate it. We appreciate the support from everyone. Also, we appreciate when you guys tag us, when you share our stuff. And so, man, it's just awesome to get to be a part of this. And so, Danny Ziem.
Toast to Danny Ziem, which, man, isn't he going to be around soon? We should just get him out here, man.
Yeah, I really wish he would get out here.
Well, that's for other stuff.
Directed.
But he will be in town at some point. We should get him. We should get him out here. Danny
should be on the podcast. We need to start cycling through Pursuit Brothers and just generate like a basic interview that we do for people when we have guests on here. That way it'll be a different mix, I think.
And some jiu-jitsu guys, a little mix of Pursuit.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Guys.
But I think starting with the Pursuit guys that we have good relationships with, and just rotating through, and then random jiu-jitsu people that want to be on the podcast, but create just a basic interview that we do, and then we add in the Bible verses at the end.
We've had Kramer. We've had Kramer. Is he the only one so far?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, I'm very excited. I know Isaac's excited because we have Pursuit 10. Men's Pursuit 10 is in 9 days.
Mm-hmm. So this episode will come out before then.
Yeah, when this episode drops, we'll be 2 days headed to Pursuit. So hey, if you're listening to this, be praying for Men's Pursuit 10. And if y'all don't mind praying for that event, we would greatly covet those prayers. I'm so excited. I'm hyped. We got so many good men coming, and we got some Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu listeners coming. I know Danny Wells is coming from Heaven's Overwatch, and he's been a supporter of everything we've done. Lives up in New Jersey. He's come out to DFW for event 003. He just was at Castle Rock I think that Castle Rock was 008 or 009. Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu live event. And so he's been supporting, and he's coming out to Pursuit, which I'm hyped about. And I know, so there's just so many good people coming. And speaking of, y'all heard us talk about Pursuit. Pursuit is where we were formed. It's a local ministry. JP and I just spent a long time on the phone with the ministry director and one of the founders this morning. And it's the ministry where we were founded, and what it is, you get out in the Texas wilderness for 4 days, and actually the majority of the time you're indoors, but it's basically 4 days to clear the calendar, clear the schedule, and just meet with Jesus. That's really what Pursuit's all about. It's about getting alone and having an encounter with God. And so if that's something you crave, you ought to really consider coming out and joining us on a Pursuit. Which, by the way, the next one for men is Men's Pursuit 11, and that is September
14th, 15th, 16th, 17th.
That Thursday through Sunday. So September 14th through 17th. So, and you can check that out. I think it's pursuitfortruth.com is the website. They'll go take you straight to the Pursuit stuff, pursuitfortruth.com. But you got to check that out. And women, we have women's pursuits. There's one happening in August, and I believe it's full, or I know it's full. And there's the next one that I'm aware of is October. And so women, y'all got to go on that. A lot of our wives participate in the women's pursuit. They help serve on the serve team and all that kind of stuff. And so, man, I can't really say it. It's one of those things you just need to experience it. But it's a place to go and to have a fresh encounter with Jesus is the best way to say it. Every person leaves Pursuit, I feel like, with a similar impact level, but it's a different story, because like what JP needs at this moment in his life is different than what Josh needs in this moment. It's different what I need and different what Isaac needs, and the Pursuit leaves it. It's kind of an open-ended platform to let the Holy Spirit and let Jesus minister you where you need it.
Yeah, so the Pursuit dates, P10 that you're just talking about that you guys are headed out to, that's August 17th to the 20th. Women's Pursuit, which is sold out, as you said, is August 31st through September 3rd. And then the next Men's Pursuit is September 14th to the 17th. And then next Men's Pursuit, Pursuit 12, is going to be in October, the 19th to the 22nd. The women's is October 26th to the 29th. And then there's one in November for men again from November 30th to December 3rd. And here's the deal. We put those dates out in advance just because, if you have a somewhat busy schedule like us, hey, you might not be able to do the next one. But if you have the ability to go to one, go to one. Don't say, oh, well, I'll just wait and go to the next one. Mm-hmm. You want to try to go as soon as you can. If you're feeling that nudge from the Holy Spirit, act, be obedient and mark it down on your calendar, block it off, commit to it. And it's cool because there's also different businesses and people that donate money to help with sponsorship. Because if someone wants to go but they can't financially make that happen, we're gonna, the ministry is gonna find ways to make it to where people can get out there, which is nice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's life changing.
Yep.
What we were talking about this. I was talking about this with Matt this morning. It's like if you don't, you're wrong. But if you believe in eternity, okay, think about this. Compared to eternity, how short is our life? It's like a speck of sand on an beach. And actually, that's not even a good representation. But like one grain of sand to a beach starts to put in perspective eternity compared to that grain of sand being our physical life here on earth.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how distracted are we? And maybe you're one of those people that's not. But how distracted are we and focused on more physical than eternal things? And so all I'm saying is if you need some realignment in your life, you're like, man, I actually need to maybe get focused on this thing called eternity. Or, man, I'm not even sure what exactly I believe. Maybe I should slow down and spend 3 or 4 days and try to figure it out. You should go to Pursuit.
Absolutely worth it. Absolutely.
So our buddy Tristan got us those books by John Bevere, Driven by Eternity, and I've read I think the first 4 chapters so far, but man, it's awesome. It's exactly what it says, but it's about thinking about eternity and letting that be the focus of your. It helps you focus and sharpen your intentions here on earth because you're led by that,
And with that in mind, isn't that kind of why and how Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu was started?
Yeah,
100%.
Let's bring some eternity mindset to the Jiu-Jitsu community.
Yeah, right. Giving them something more substantial. And what's cool? I talked to a lot of people about Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu recently and how the community is already. I was talking to my uncle about this. He was in town recently, and we were talking about the community of Jiu-Jitsu is kind of already set up. It's like it kind of mimics Christian fellowship. There's like a deeper level of brotherhood and fellowship and people taking care of each other, and you're all kind of united around this thing.
Absolutely.
But you spread out and you take care of each other in other areas of your life. So it mimics Christian fellowship. But then when we have the opportunity to bring Jesus and make him the focal point of all of that fellowship and interaction, it's like we add true depth and meaning to to that community and fellowship. So,
and I think a key to that, to the success that's been Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu is, for one, it wasn't our idea. It wasn't inspired by us. But two, I think we were very planted and invested and rooted in our community here locally. It's not like we were just looking for something to insert something into.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was very organic.
We need
the
to
way
do
it happened.
something. It should be called that. Yeah, no, we were like, yeah.
We
I
were
feel
just-
led to do this.
And what we started doing, really the roots of it was, hey, we had this amazing experience at Pursuit. Hey, let's invite all the guys from our gym that we're close to. Not all of them, but as many as we can. And we still have more to take, but let's start inviting guys from the gym to Pursuit. We started taking men through Pursuit, and that's really what fueled it, is letting them have an authentic experience meeting with Jesus. We've said this in the past, but one thing too, if you're sitting there and you're listening to this and you're going, man, maybe Pursuit sounds interesting. What Pursuit does is Pursuit has a rough outlined curriculum, like teaching stuff, different teachings where they're giving you tools and equipping you and teaching you how to go look for and find answers. And then they get out of the way and they let you encounter Jesus, right? And so there's like a loose guiding, or there's a guiding, but then they step out and they're not telling you what Jesus is saying, what the Lord's saying to you. They let you go find it. And it's truly led by the Lord, truly Holy Spirit led event, which is not quote unquote ministry as usual. It's not the standard event that you would go to. And so it's very unique in that. And it's very empowering because it doesn't create Pursuit does not create a emotional, spiritual high. Pursuit equips you to walk away and continue on just what it's named, continue on your pursuit, because there's not a destination and it's not an event. It's not just a standard retreat where you just go and you experience it. No, you actually go and you get equipped and you get tools and you learn how to start doing this thing a little differently, and then you continue that pursuit on.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's smart. There's a skeleton, the framework, whatever you want to call it. And then the Holy Spirit fills in what needs to be there based off of what you have going on.
Right. So good.
Yeah, and they say very often at Pursuit, you'll hear the term, as far as the staff is concerned or serve team members, getting out of the way. That's a lot of what we're doing. So there's a loose structure, but there's a focus on trying to not be, I don't know. So I led worship for a long time, and there's an element of entertainment at a lot of churches where people
ukulele?
Are like, yeah,
in a Hawaiian shirt?
Yeah. Actually, on the stand-up bass, I was leading worship.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
But you're an awesome worship leader.
Thank you, man. Well, that leading worship is there's an element where people are people are watching you, and it's like even if they're not doing it on purpose, there's like you have a responsibility as a worship leader or even a pastor to find a way to step out of the way. So it's like, this isn't about me or about the music or this is about God, and this is about his glory. And it's really, you have a responsibility when you're in ministry to find a way to get out of the spotlight and put Jesus there, But at Pursuit, that is a focus, and I think they do a really good job of making it all about the Holy Spirit moving, but giving just enough guidance.
Bro, when I was hearing you talking, I was thinking, not only do pastors and worship leaders have that responsibility, but as Christians, don't we have that responsibility?
Absolutely.
To get out of the way. Like, look at the goodness. Like, JP does a great job of it. He was just talking about his home and talking about how it was a God thing and giving that glory. It'd be easy to pat his chest and say, I'm so good and whatever. But no, he gives the credit where the credit's due, right? I mean, think about that, though. As Christians, that's really, it ought to be. And it's hard, bro, because our
egos.
The egos, and what is ego? Like, it goes back to pride, and the Bible talks about pride all through it.
I should have said pride, because our ego is actually a good thing. Our ego drives us. It's when you can't control your ego, that's when pride creeps in.
Right. And think about that, like, how easy is it for when stuff starts going good to, like, take that credit or take that glory?
Yeah.
Look how good I did.
Yeah.
It's similar. It's awesome. Sunday night, we were doing something at our church for, we just had the expansion. We did this build out. And this next Sunday will be the first actual full weekend, Saturday, Sunday, of services with the new expanded seats and all the extra seats that they added in there. But it was cool because Sunday night was just all the people at the church that are committed to serve. And so Amanda and I are now serving with Elevate to help out the youth, and Pastor Tyron is trying to figure out, okay, hey, where do I fit in? Where does he want me? What makes sense, right? And he's really focused on like praying on that and everything. But it was cool to be able to be there. And this is what's crazy. It's incredible. That was the most amount of people they've ever had in one service. Think about that. The amount of people that want to serve, that are committed to serving the church and the programs, were all there Sunday night, and it was insane. And if they wouldn't have had the expanded seats, they wouldn't have fit everybody in there, which is crazy. But one of the things Pastor Jeff was talking about is very similar to what you guys are talking about, which is also, I found some connections to your verse, which I'm excited for us to get into.
Coincidence.
He was just talking about how when you're building something, you're going to have some feelings. Don't fall into those feelings. It's not if it happens, it's when it happens. And he was talking about like, hey, you don't have the right to be offended. And just talking about like people they get in the way of what God's trying to create and what's going on. And that's what I really like about Pursuit is like you were just saying, it's like, hey, get out of the way.
Yep.
Get out of the way. Like, hey, there's framework for it. Let's work through it. And it was just, for me, it was a good reminder of just like getting out of the way and letting things happen. Not loosely like, whoa, just if things happen, they'll happen. No, like don't. That's not what we're talking about. But in regards to like, mostly for me, it was the whole like our feelings when we get that pride creeps in, we get offended over stupid stuff, and it's like, no, actually, you don't have the right to be offended about that.
Right.
And so that was cool.
You know what's neat? Just a side note, as you're saying that, I was just thinking about, because we were on the phone with Matt this morning. I've known Matt since, it's been almost 20 years that I've known Matt, and I've been in close, consistent relationship with him. And I've watched him steward the vision that the Lord gave him for the vision and the call that he put on him and his wife's life for Pursuit and Walking for Truth, their ministry. He stewarded that for about 14 years before it became what it is. Yeah. And it was like 14 years of faithfulness and trying to fulfill it. And like, then you look at the fruit of that, you know? So it's like, just for anyone, I just like to share that. That's just a little blurb on their faithfulness as a couple, but it's not like Pursuit was just a cool decision a few years ago and they've just started up this cool thing. No, it's like looking at like some very godly people that have been walking through their process for decades, but then stewarding this for a decade and a half to get to where they are to now impact hundreds of lives like they've been in which is on the route. It's on path to impact thousands of lives.
Well, it already has because of the trickle down for families and friends. And yeah, you're right.
Absolutely.
And now through Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu, if it wasn't for their faithfulness and them stewarding that ministry well, we wouldn't have gotten started either.
Heck no. Yeah, it's actually probably already, but in the future it's going to be countless. Like how it's going to be hard to.
You won't be able to calculate right now.
Well, and there's people.
Can't calculate
well, because there's
impact.
and one is going to make them uncomfortable. But like one person that's been drastically impacted is JP. Well, JP's in front of large numbers of people every year, whether it's the podcast that he's guests on or the people that he's live teaching in front of. I mean, it's millions of people a year, correct?
Maybe, yeah.
It's millions of people a year. It absolutely
I would say
is.
Probably.
With the podcast, because you
John
get
Lowe's podcast has 2 million downloads per episode,
and you'll be on there
too,
sometimes a couple times a year, right? So you're in front of millions of people a year, and I noticed that you try to make a point to speak about the Lord every time you have a microphone in front of you, so to speak. Yeah. And so it's just endless, and that's one person that's been through Pursuit, but we could keep talking about them all day long. I do need to shout out our sponsor for episode 023, Kyle Yoakum. If you listen to us, you've heard, because Kyle's a faithful sponsor. Yoakum's Rod Shop out of Sunbury, North Carolina.
My man.
And again, I tell you guys, anytime you hear me talk about it, I tell y'all, go to his Instagram, because his work is insane. And that's one of the things I love about the social media era. There's some things I hate about the social media era, but one of the things I love about it is you can really see insight into what people have going on. And so he's Yoakum's Rod Shop on Instagram, which is YOCUMSRODSHOP, Yoakum's Rod Shop, or you can look up Kyle Yoakum. Kyle, YOCUM. High quality metal shaping, and man, when you look at the work he does, it's incredible. One of the things that I've said the last couple times I've talked about Yoakum's Rod Shop that he's never asked us to say, if you are going to restore a vehicle, you ought to give Kyle a shot at your business, even if you don't live in North Carolina, even if you're multi-states away, because it's actually not that expensive to ship a car. And so you could potentially be living like in Texas, for example, ship your car to North Carolina, have an awesome believer, and you could be supporting him, work on your vehicle, get it shipped back, and either one of two things are going to happen, if not both. Maybe you would still be cheaper than going to someone else, but you're probably going to get a better job done on your vehicle.
Yeah.
So what I say is you ought to just reach out to Kyle and give him a chance to earn your business.
Yeah.
You know, as a business owner, that's what I always say. Hey, I just want an opportunity to earn your business, right? Don't give it to me for free, but let me have an opportunity to earn your business.
I like that you said, so the important piece there, he's great at what he does, but he is a believer. He's a strong believer. And he sent me a video like maybe it was a month ago or something, just like, hey, bro, you know, I'm going to pray over your family, pray over you, pray over your day. And he just just went to the Lord on my behalf. And it was cool. He just was praying over me.
I bet he'd pray over your car.
Yeah.
I bet he does.
Yeah.
Probably does.
Yeah.
But you could ask him. You can make a special request. Hey, while you're building this, will you pray over it?
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. The owners of the house that we bought, the wife, anyways, the husband was texting. We've been texting back and forth about stuff, and he's like, "Hey, the neighborhood wives, they all have a group text. Can I give them Amanda's info because they wanted just to include her into it? Because we haven't met anybody yet. We haven't met everybody in the neighborhood yet, just because our schedule, everyone's schedule, it's just, you know, times are different. It's a little bit different, you know, but which I thought was cool. It's like I've met a few people and they've been awesome. And one of the ladies, Stacy, in our neighborhood was like, I really want to meet your wife, have her come down. You know, we have this group text. We want to make sure the wives stay connected. We all take care of each other, and just it was cool. So Dave, who we bought the house from, him and his wife, I gave him Amanda's number to give to them. He gave it to his wife. His wife reached out, and Amanda was like, man, just awesome. Like, we've been texting all day. She's very sweet, seems very nice, because we never actually got to meet the wife in the process. But what I thought was cool is Amanda, and this is connected to what you're saying, is she was sending Amanda pictures that when they built the house, they wrote Bible verses on the studs and the you know, just all the beams and everything throughout the house.
Awesome. Really?
And prayed over things as they were building the house, and she sent that to Amanda. And that's one of the things Amanda said it would be cool is, you know, if we could have built, or in the future when we build a house, is to be able to do the same thing, writing different Bible verses and praying over stuff. And
Tyler,
Amanda and Pete Roberts did the same thing when they built I think they're done with their new house up in Maine. Yeah.
Tyler and Ashton did that, and then they took a Bible and like put it in, I think, a Ziploc baggie, and put it in their on their kitchen, and I think one in their bedroom.
Oh, wow.
And so it got laid. The Bibles got laid in the foundation of their home.
That's cool.
That's rad.
Wow.
Super cool.
That would be so cool to do, where you put it like in a why am I drawing a pelican case?
Oh, yeah.
A pelican case where it's just completely sealed, and then you put that down into the concrete, and it's like just laid in the foundation. Because one day someone's going to put, hey, one day you might be jackhammering that thing up to try to get like a Bible that's restored. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Speaking of the Bible.
Speaking
Josh.
of the Bible. Yeah. So the verse I had for today, I kind of read this whole chapter, and a lot of times when it's my turn to pick a verse, you can read the whole chapter and you're like, well, that's good. So I just kind of went.
I just did the same thing. I pulled it up. I'm like, oh, one more here.
I could really like pick on anything, but really what jumped out at me, and so I had another verse in the chapter picked first, and then I waited. I wanted to put some thought into it. So Isaiah 55 verse 7 is the one that stuck out to me. Now, obviously, when we dive into it, you guys can go all over the place, but number 7 is the one that stuck out to me the most, and I don't know, maybe that's just where I'm at. But so it reads, let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. So that you're reading along after me. That wasn't with me.
I'm trying to catch up to where you were. I finally found it. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry. But no, that I don't know. It stuck out to me. It's a testament to the Lord's goodness. I mean, there's so much wisdom and stuff in the Bible, but I think it really, even in the Old Testament, laid it out clear. I mean, let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and return unto the Lord. And it says he will have mercy upon him. There's no question about it. And I think, I don't know, maybe I needed to hear that yesterday, but it's really comforting to know that even if you get sidetracked on something and get your thoughts turned away, if you come back, he will pardon you. He will have mercy upon you. So it was felt pretty powerful.
What's awesome, before I actually read the verse, because I know you put it out in the group text, I saw it, but I didn't read it. Like I didn't, to be honest, like I didn't like click on it, read it, think about it.
Right.
But one of the very first things I wrote down on my notes here is, because I was like, oh, maybe we'll talk about it. I was like, oh, maybe it'll be on another episode in the future, whatever. Just a random thought. I wrote confession time. Why is it important? And then now you're like reading this scripture, which is incredible, is just, and that's one of the things that when I was at Aiden's camp as, serving on the rec team, it was awesome. Pastor Ryan Martinez gave this incredible message about confession and the importance of like actually speaking. Yes, you can confess to the Lord, but the power of like when you sit down and you talk to somebody else and you work through it. And I know that's one of the things that we do at Pursuit is like, all right, hey, here's what's been going on.
Right.
Here's what I physically did. Here's what I've been thinking. Here's what I've been tempted on, and all those things. And when you're able to actually speak through those things and talk to, it's just incredible what happens. And anyway, so it's cool. I wrote down confession time. Why is that important?
In James, which I could pull it up, I want to say maybe chapter 5 or 4, but I could find it if it was important. But what it says is, and you will be healed.
Yeah.
So it talks about what you just said, confession, and you will be healed. So it's not so that you'll be forgiven, because the confession is not what forgives you. That's between you and the Lord.
Yep.
Right? But there is a healing process that happens when you're able to bring light to something.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's
a good verse, Josh. I like it. And you're like, well, maybe it's something I needed to hear yesterday. Bro, this is a verse we all need to hear every single day.
Yeah, can you read it to me in 20 minutes?
Maybe. yeah, right.
Also, when I'm at the airport frustrated later, can you just call me and read it in a deep voice? Like, JP.
Seek the Lord. Accurate. I mean, I don't know. It's. I think a lot of times, I don't know. I think a lot of times I know for sure I have thought that maybe I've gone too far, I've taken my thoughts too far, or, my anger's gotten too far, or anything.
Take every thought captive.
Exactly.
Where'd that thought come from?
But it doesn't, not that it doesn't matter, but you can always, what's it say? Forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and return to the Lord. Like, it's like the prodigal son, obviously. You can return at any point. And if you keep reading, it says, like, it's the Lord speaking, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. Like, we don't have the luxury of always having clean thoughts. Now, we can take every thought captive, but it's a battle.
Because it's spiritual warfare that we're in every single day.
Yeah. Listen to episode 001. I like this shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It's nice.
I love Steven's random thoughts and comments during our podcast. It's amazing. It's some of my favorites.
What you probably understand and most don't is I have held back thousands.
I know so far you've held back 17 just by watching your body language.
That's bad.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
And about 14 of the 17 revolve around food. I'm so hungry.
Right. We started off before we started recording about food. So,
yeah. My Brandon Evans, I reference him every now and then. He's great to give me text message feedback. I guess he listened yesterday to our episode. He's like, "Why do you guys always talk about food?" Like, bro,
we're not skinny.
Right, that's right.
We're always hungry.
And because I said, he's like, I listen to you all and I get hungry. I'm like, dude, this is our everyday life. Like, we could have growing up, this is really funny. Growing up, my grandma, my mom, and my family, the whole joke was, but it was real. I would be sitting at breakfast, mid-plate.
Talking about lunch.
What's for lunch? Same thing.
Needs to make sure.
Lunch, during lunch, they'd be like feeding. Yes.
Isaac's like, can't relate.
No, respect.
Wait, I'm in constant
respect.
There's
nonstop.
There's certain reasons. For one, it's just where my brain goes. But for two, okay, what's for lunch? Veggie sandwich. Okay, First off, I'm making other plans.
Yeah.
Second,
This is a veggie sandwich.
I actually saw a reel last night.
Oh, it's like
No one in our circle.
I got so.
But I'm just saying,
Not us. Yeah,
here's the thing is actually I'll tell you a story, but let me finish this. Here's the other reason. Oh, a veggie sandwich. Okay, I'm gonna eat 3 plates right now at breakfast, and then I'm making other plans for lunch. Yeah. So my grandparents that had cattle. I don't think I've ever told this story on the podcast. They had cattle. That's where Little Cattle Co. is inspired from, because they would feed us with really high quality beef year round. I would stay with them all the time, and so my grandma told me at breakfast, "Hey, we're gonna have a farm lunch today." Awesome, farm lunch. That's probably a T-bone, right?
I mean,
farm lunch. So you know what happens? I'm about 10, 11 years old. I'll never forget it. Which I was in a little bit of a chubby phase, but I had to grow. It was like just husky is the right way to say it. I had to get a little thick to grow up, because then I had a huge growth spurt. But I come to lunch after been playing on the farm all day, dude. We're just tearing it up out there. Yeah. I sit down and there's just veggies all over the plate, all over the table. And I was like, "Grammy, what's this?" She's like, "A farm lunch." And I'm like,
From the garden.
Yes. Yeah. So it was 100% from the garden, which they are originally from Iowa. And so my grandpa was an amazing actual farmer. Like, he always had an incredible garden, which I appreciate more now that I'm older than I did when I was younger. And I started crying. And she's like, "What's wrong?" Because I didn't cry at 10 or 11 years old. And I'm just crying at the lunch table. Like, and I'm trying not to. I'm trying to hold it back, but it's just like sad tears. She's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Where's the meat?" Literally,
overwhelming.
I'll never forget this moment in my life, because I was crushed, bro. I'd been playing on the farm all day and working with my grandpa, so a mix of like work and play. I was starving, bro. It was just like sliced tomatoes.
Well, you heard farm lunch, so you probably kicked it into overdrive,
bro. Like, farm lunch. There's cattle on this farm, and there's
going hard.
There's chickens right over there. I don't give me an egg or a chicken. I don't care. There's chickens over there. There's cattle over here. Like, why are we eating vegetables? She jumped up and made me, I forget if it was like a giant sandwich. She got some meat when she saw that I was crying.
Grandmas are good at that.
Yeah, but
She's such a sweet lady.
yes. So anyways, that's just a side note for you guys. Brandon, I hope you enjoyed that story.
I got a breaking news update from our producer. He shared some wisdom with us.
Oh, let's go.
It ties it back. He sent a verse. And it says,
I'm in airplane mode during these things, because if you think I'm distracted with my phone not on airplane mode, sorry.
No. He sent the verse you were looking for, I think, James 5:16. Therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is very powerful in its effect.
Yeah, that's it. James 5:16.
That's the one.
Yeah, so confessing to the Lord brings forgiveness, but confessing to one another brings healing. And that's why, pursuit is really important. And I don't want to freak anyone out. You don't just come and, it's not like you just come and sit in the middle of the room and tell everybody your darkest secrets. But I think
that's a tool. Important. So like what we talk about pursuit is you learn tools. There is a tool. Like part of a tool is what James 5:16. So you can sit there learning that you can grab a brother or someone and go, "Hey man, like actually, let me I need some healing in this spot, so I'm gonna exercise James 5:16. So let's like, Josh, come over here, dude. I want to talk to you." And the Lord gives healing through that process, right?
And it's
got to be done healthy. There's a right way to do it and a very wrong way to do it.
People, that's why, like, so often when you talk to people, someone says, "Hey man, can I?" And you talk, and they're like, "Man, I feel so much better." Like, right. It's like, well, there's something spiritual that's happening there when you're actually talking to another person and sharing your burden with them. My wife is a counselor, and so that's what she does for a living. But yeah, that transformation happens when people can just talk to another person about whatever it is. Sometimes even just small stuff, but the weight of it is very heavy.
Yeah.
Like that illustration about the water in the glass. It's like, well, it's not that heavy, but if you hold it out here, eventually your shoulder's going to burn out, and it's not very much weight, but if you keep holding it in this way,
extended position.
Yeah, and that's how people hold stuff they've been through and whatever else. So yeah, you got to dump that out.
Bro, I'm just laughing. If there's any vegans or vegetarians that listen to us, for one, you must really love Jesus or jiu-jitsu, because we talk a lot about non-vegan and vegetarian things. Which, if that's your lifestyle, that's totally cool. No judgment.
False.
Maybe, but I'm just laughing
I can
at the
always
fact
confess
that
later.
there's been one
Judgment
time.
only because I care about you, because that's actually not a healthy lifestyle. However,
So,
comma.
what I'm laughing about, is
I'm
I was just
probably in the flesh a little
laughing
bit.
about a vegan or a vegetarian listening to my statement and thinking about there's one time I was served a meal that you choose to eat every day, and I cried.
You know,
That's actually amazing to think about, like, especially as a young boy. Like,
Yeah.
just
But you know what else
devastation.
you know what else I also think about that is probably not a thought that happens often enough is how fortunate am I that I've like never missed a meal.
yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing.
You know, I mean,
it's
of course
crazy.
I have missed a meal, but I'm just saying, you know,
You've
I've
never
never
missed a meal
it.
because of resources, though. It
Right.
wasn't because
Right.
your family couldn't afford to feed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was the same way growing up. Like, my parents, you know, they always made, you know, things happen for us. And,
That's right.
like, it's just, when you really look at it through that perspective, like, how lucky we are.
Dude,
Like,
so I
it's
think
incredible.
so let me take it this is a thought I do have often. Okay. Just pause for a second. How fortunate are we? And now some of you that are listening are in other countries, but I just think about how lucky am I that out of everywhere in the world I was born in America. Right? I could have been born, you can't control that. I could have been born in any country in the world. You could have been born into a war zone, right? I was born into America. Above and beyond that, I was born into Texas. Above and beyond that, I was born into an incredible family, right? And this is just my own internal perspective because some people weren't that fortunate, right? Maybe your situation was different, but there are things you can look at in your life that you had no control over. There were absolute blessings. And so I sit there, that's part of my worship. This reflection that I'm sharing with you is part of my worship, is like, God, you're so good to me through these things. And right, and I don't take them for granted. I recognize that these are blessings from you.
Yeah, that's good.
You know?
That combats, not being grateful in other areas of your life. That anytime you feel frustrated or upset,
Right.
just sitting and being grateful. And it's kind of funny because it's kind of like there's also like a new agey practice of meditation where it's like gratitude. You're just being grateful. It's like being grateful to who? To
right.
the universe. It's like, no, you've mislabeled that.
Purposeful gratitude.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
That's good. Lucas is nodding when you said that, Josh. Purposeful gratitude.
Yep.
With that, this has been the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast, episode 023.
Go train.